What if I told you that the moment you blow out those 75 candles, your body starts a countdown you can't stop? I'm not talking about death. I'm talking about 6 irreversible changes that begin happening whether you're the healthiest person alive or not. These aren't things your doctor warns you about, and they're definitely not in any aging handbook. But here's what's terrifying and beautiful about turning 75. These changes will either destroy your remaining years or transform them into the most meaningful chapter of your entire life. Before we dive in, ask yourself this. Would you rather know what's coming so you can prepare, or would you prefer to be blindsided when it happens? Because I guarantee you, Number 4 on this list will shock you. It's something that happens to every single person at 75, regardless of their lifestyle, genetics, or wealth. And number 6, it might actually be the most beautiful thing about aging that nobody talks about. Let me tell you about Elena, a 75-year-old former marathon runner from Colorado. 3 months after her 75th birthday, she called her daughter crying. Not because she was sick, she was healthier than most 50-year-olds. She was crying because she suddenly understood something about life that she'd never grasped before. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what Elena discovered and why it changed everything for her. If you're watching this and you're over 70, comment ready below. If you're younger but watching for a parent or grandparent, comment learning. I want to know who's here with us today. Remember how summer vacations felt endless when you were 8, or how waiting for Christmas seemed to take forever? At 75, something profound happens to your internal clock that most people don't realize until it hits them like a freight train. Research from Duke University shows that once you hit 75, your brain processes time differently at a neurological level. It's not just that time feels faster, your actual perception of duration changes. Days blur together, but paradoxically, individual moments become more vivid and precious. Take Robert, a 76-year-old retired teacher from Maine. He describes it perfectly. I can't tell you what I did last Tuesday, but I remember every detail of my grandson's laugh from last weekend. Time moves like water now, fast in the flow, but I can cup the beautiful moments in my hands. This time distortion affects everything, from medication schedules to social relationships. Many 75-year-olds struggle with punctuality, not because they're careless, but because their internal chronometer has fundamentally shifted. Stay with me here, because what I'm about to tell you about memory will completely change how you think about aging. Here's what nobody tells you. At 75, your brain doesn't just get worse at memory. It gets incredibly selective. You'll forget where you put your keys, but remember exactly how your mother's perfume smelled in 1963. Neuroscientists call this crystallized versus fluid intelligence. Your brain literally starts prioritizing emotional and meaningful memories over mundane information. It's not deterioration, it's optimization. Remember Elena from the beginning? This is part of what made her cry. She realized her brain was becoming a curator, not a storage unit. She could recall her wedding day with startling clarity, but couldn't remember if she'd taken her vitamins that morning. Dr. Sarah Chen, a geriatrician at Johns Hopkins, explains what families see as memory loss is often memory refinement. The brain is keeping what matters and releasing what doesn't. But here's where it gets really interesting, and this is something that will blow your mind about what happens to your relationship. At 75, something remarkable happens. You stop caring about impressing people you don't really like. This isn't antisocial behavior, it's social evolution. Margaret, 77, from Vermont, put it bluntly, I spent 50 years pretending to enjoy conversations with people who drained my energy. Now, I'd rather spend an hour with my neighbor's dog than pretend to care about office gossip from people I barely knew. Psychologists call this socio-emotional selectivity theory. When you perceive your time as limited, your brain automatically prioritizes relationships that provide emotional meaning over those that provide information or social status. Studies show that by 75, most people's active social circle shrinks by 70%, but relationship satisfaction increases by 40%. You're not becoming antisocial, you're becoming socially intelligent. This change often confuses family members who wonder why grandma doesn't want to attend every family gathering anymore. Not that she loves you less, she's just learned to protect her emotional energy. Now, what I'm about to share next is something doctors rarely discuss, but it affects every single person who reaches 75. This one might actually save your life. At 75, your body doesn't just heal slower, it changes its entire repair strategy. This isn't about being old and fragile. This is about understanding a biological shift that could mean the difference between thriving and merely surviving. Your cellular regeneration doesn't stop at 75, but it shifts from quantity to quality. Your body starts prioritizing essential repairs over cosmetic ones. That cut on your hand might heal slower, but your heart muscle might actually become more efficient. efficient. Harold, an 83-year-old carpenter from Pennsylvania, noticed this firsthand. I used to bounce back from everything. Now when I get hurt, it takes longer to heal, but I don't get sick like I used to. It's like my body is choosing its battles. This means preventive care becomes crucial, not optional. Your body's warning signs change. Recovery strategies need to adapt, and what worked at 65 won't work at 75. Understanding this change allows you to work with your body, not against it. Physical therapist Linda Rodriguez explains, when we understand that a 75-year-old body is operating on a different repair protocol, we can design activities that support this new system. But here's what absolutely amazed me when I researched this next point. It's about your relationship with fear, and it's the opposite of what you'd expect. Here's what sounds crazy, but is absolutely true. Many things that terrified you at 45 won't even register at 75, but new fears you never considered become prominent. Your amygdala, your brain's fear center, literally changes its priorities at 75. You become less afraid of social rejection, financial setbacks, or career failures, but more attuned to fears about dignity, legacy, and meaning. Dorothy, a 78-year-old former CEO from Chicago, explains, I used to lie awake worrying about quarterly reports and board meetings. Now I sleep peacefully about money and business, but I worry about whether I'm being a burden to my children. Research from Stanford shows that older adults' brains actually process threatening information differently. You become less reactive to immediate threats, but more sensitive to existential ones. This means you'll speak up more in situations that once intimidated you, worry less about what strangers think, focus more on how your actions affect people you love, and become more comfortable with uncertainty in some areas while becoming more concerned about others. This isn't about becoming fearless, it's about your fear becoming more wisdom-based rather than anxiety-based. Now what I'm about to share is the most beautiful change that happens at 75. This is what made Elena cry tears of joy, and it might be the most important thing you hear today. At 75, something magical happens that researchers are just beginning to understand. You develop an almost supernatural ability to see what truly matters, combined with an urgent desire to share that wisdom before it's too late. Remember Elena's phone call to her daughter? Here's what she discovered. I suddenly realized that every conversation might be someone's last memory of me. Not in a morbid way, but in the most beautiful way possible. I started choosing my words like I was writing poetry, because maybe I was. Dr. Michael Thomas from UC San Diego has studied this phenomenon for 20 years. He says around 75, the brain develops what we call legacy consciousness. People become acutely aware that their time to influence the world is finite, and this creates a beautiful urgency to share what they've learned. This shows up as suddenly wanting to tell family stories you've never shared, feeling compelled to write letters to people from your past, having an intense desire to resolve old conflicts, wanting to teach skills or share knowledge with younger people, and becoming more generous with both wisdom and resources. Frank, a 76-year-old mechanic from Ohio, started writing detailed letters to his grandchildren about life lessons he'd learned. I'm not dying, he says, but I'm finally living with the knowledge that everything I say and do matters more than I ever realized. Families report that when their 75-year-old relatives embrace this wisdom urgency, it transforms entire family dynamic. Conversations become deeper, relationships heal, and legacies are consciously created rather than accidentally left behind. So what does all this mean for you, whether you're 75 yourself or love someone who is? These 6 changes aren't happening to you, they're happening for you. Your body and mind are preparing you for what gerontologists call the wisdom years, a time when your accumulated knowledge finally matches your emotional maturity. Elena's daughter later told me, my mom didn't just turn 75, she graduated to 75. She's not the same person, and that's the most beautiful thing that could have happened to our family. If you're approaching 75, embrace the time perception shift by savoring moments instead of fighting the speed. Trust your brain's new selective memory. It's keeping what serves you. Let your social circle shrink naturally to what nourishes you. Work with your body's new repair system, not against it. Use your refined fear response as a wisdom compass and recognize the urgency to share your wisdom as a gift, not a burden. If someone you love is 75, understand these changes as evolution, not decline. Ask them to share their stories while feeling the urgency to tell them. Respect their new boundaries and priorities and celebrate their wisdom instead of mourning their youth. Which of these changes resonates most with you? Are you witnessing them in yourself or someone you love? Share your story in the comments. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If this video helped you understand aging in a new way, please share it with someone who needs this perspective. And if you want more content that reveals the hidden truths about life's later chapters, subscribe and ring the bell. Remember, turning 75 isn't the beginning of the end. It's the beginning of wisdom, and that might be the most beautiful beginning of all.